So Tilian's returned to DGD. This happened a few weeks ago. I was on the fence about making a video about this because I kind of just hate talking about this kind of stuff. I hate drama. I don't like making videos like this. But at our core, we are a very DGD-centric channel, and I already made a video talking about the initial drama, so I figured it only makes sense to wrap this up with, where we're at right now and the extra discourse that has come about because of Tilian's return. I personally am very happy that Tilian is back. Everyone here on the channel is very happy that Tilian is back, and, obviously wishing him the best and everything, but I think that the way that this played out, sort of the verbiage that was used in a lot of these statements from Tilian from the get-go, just really don't help his case. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of discourse. There's a lot to unpack. And I sort of just want to lay everything out as cleanly and clearly as possible. Give everyone the facts that they need to know about this entire situation, pepper in some of my personal opinions and takes throughout. And yeah, I just want to keep the fellow DGD fans educated on what's going on and try to mitigate the amount of shitty takes that are out there on the internet, which, I'm not going to change anything, but I can at least try, I guess. So for those of you who somehow don't know, if you're new to this entire situation, back in June, Tilian left Dance Gavin Dance, stepped away from Dance Gavin Dance, I should say, amid sexual assault allegations. There was an account that first came up by someone named Michaela, and as I stated in the video breaking down all of that drama, that one was just the ramblings of a psychopath. I don't think anybody really took that one seriously at all. It was riddled with holes, seemed really creepy, and, Tilian immediately denied it, provided all of his screenshots of every conversation they ever had, really just solidified that it was not true, and he was backed up by a lot of people who had met this person in real life and said, yeah, this person's a psycho. This is all fabricated. This is not how it played out. And everyone kind of moved on. But a few days later, there was another account of sexual assault brought up by Reddit user SpookyPooky8. And she had a much more believable story on her hands. She provided a little bit of evidence with screenshots of their conversations on a dating app and texting, and painted a very scary picture of what Tilian was like that night, saying that he, forced himself onto her, crossed boundaries, really just, forced her into saying yes to having sex, which is a form of rape, in case some of you weren't aware. After that, Tilian responded, saying that he was stepping away from the band. He didn't deny the allegations like he denied the first one, which was not a great look, and basically, took responsibility for what happened and said he was going to leave and work on himself. For full context, I am going to read the entire statement that he left while he stepped away from the band, because it's going to be very important moving forward to compare to some of the stuff he has said since his return. So I'm going to load the post on screen. We're going to take a look at his exact statement verbatim when he stepped away from the band. I want to start by saying I'm truly sorry for what you have gone through. When I initially read the detailed account of the night from your perspective, I was stunned. To me, it was a consensual experience both times when we were intimate, but I will not deny you of your truth and recognize that it has caused you a lot of emotional stress. I sincerely apologize for that. From my perspective, we communicated openly about how we wanted the night to go and talked in detail about our intentions and desires as they developed. I wasn't fully aware of your emotional connection to the band and how that might have impacted the dynamic. I was therefore very confused when I received your text the next night, and after speaking with a friend, I thought it would be best not to respond as not to aggravate the situation. I realize that this might have hurt you even further, and I apologize. I am much more sensitive to how it must have made you feel neglected when you needed clarification and closure. I understand my responsibility around consent as a man, and I'm sorry that caused you to feel anything but respected and your boundaries honored. I appreciate the strength it probably took you to come forward with this account. I hold myself fully accountable for causing you this emotional pain. I will be entering an intensive therapy program to address this issue head on to become the healthiest, most responsible version of me, doing the work necessary to ensure this never happens again. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Sincerely, Tilian. Good apology at that point, and we talked about this in the last video. And a lot of people, including myself, interpreted this as he holds himself accountable for potentially doing this, and he, is stepping away from the band to go seek out help and work through that. And that's awesome. And for the last 6 months, that's kind of what we thought was happening. And as of November of this year, Tilian has returned to Dance Gavin Dance, which is great as a Dance Gavin Dance fan. Very happy to hear that. Very happy that he's doing well. I'm very happy that he's back. But his statement upon his return kind of left people scratching their heads a little bit. Definitely stirred up a lot of discourse around the entire reason he left in the first place. So I'm going to load up this statement. We're going to read through this verbatim as well. I wanted to update everyone on what has happened during my time away from Dance Gavin Dance. When the band was dealing with the tragic loss of one of our brothers, it could have brought us together, but instead it sent me down a self-destructive path. I've spent the past few months in a rehab program for alcohol alongside an intensive series of therapy sessions to reassess my life and how I want to live it. It became clear to me and my bandmates that this is what had to happen for me to continue with the group, and I will always appreciate their understanding, support, and the time that they have given me to get my life together. I hate the power that I have allowed alcohol to have over my life. I want to apologize to the band and all the fans of Dance Gavin Dance and assure you that my mistakes are purely my own and should never be a reflection on the other band members. Now, up until this point, I think this is a great, statement, a great apology to come back into the band. I'm reading this the first time when he posted it, and I'm like, hell yeah, man. Proud of you for getting your stuff together, taking accountability, and bettering yourself. That's awesome. But it's this next part that left a lot of people upset. He continues by saying, it's also important for me to address something that has been twisted and misrepresented during my absence from the band. The work I have done on myself and my substance abuse issues has nothing to do with any kind of sexual misconduct. I've never had sex or any kind of intimate relationship without the consent of a partner. Now, that seems to be very counter to what he said in his apology to Spooky in his statement about why he was stepping away from the band. Because as we just read a little bit earlier, he had said, I will be entering an intensive therapy program to address this issue head on to become the healthiest, most responsible version of me, doing the work necessary to ensure this never happens again. And in no part of that entire apology did he chalk up with that equating to alcoholism. It was very clearly interpreted as, I'm going to make sure that I don't take advantage of women anymore. Whether he meant for that to be how it came across, that is how it came across. There was no mention of alcoholism anywhere in that initial apology. And so when he comes back and is saying like, oh, by the way, I left to take care of my alcoholism and I never ever did this thing that I, supposedly left to go help with, a lot of people were very, very, very upset about that. And you can see it by just going and looking up comments online to this post. I mean, a lot of people were really upset, basically saying like, you're trying to like gaslight the community into thinking that you left for a completely different reason than you did, or you made a whole big thing about how you were going to work on yourself and better yourself and overcome this issue, and now you come back and say, well, I never had that issue to begin with, and I never did that, so I left for this other reason. And if you thought otherwise, then that's on you. And it left a really bad taste in people's mouths. I know for me and for the guys on the channel personally, we had a big discussion about this when all this dropped, and we were kind of in agreement that like that specific paragraph makes it come across kind of scummy, just denying something that you sort of owned up to upon leaving, but I mean, it's just not a good look. It's not a good look. There was so much backlash to this that he actually made another post on Reddit to kind of go over this further. I'm not going to read this entire thing because it's very long. We're just going to go over like the base details. I'm going to read some sections of it verbatim, but I am going to skip through a lot of it because a lot of it is completely unnecessary, which we're going to get into. The post was called Clarification. It was posted 17 days ago as of the time of this recording. I want to thank everyone who supported the band's decision to allow me to return to recording and touring with them, and I appreciate the patience of both my bandmates and fans over the last few months. Despite attempts to be open and honest about our decision, there's still a lot of misperceptions about what happened in the past and why I went into treatment, so it's become clear that I need to provide additional information that I hoped wouldn't be necessary. And I respect Tilian for coming out and doing this, because he didn't have to, but he understood that, you know, people were upset about the way that he phrased some things, and he needed to clarify if he wanted to, you know, save his ass. So now he starts off by going into excruciating detail about the Michaela allegation, which again was immediately debunked like right off the bat. So there is literally no reason to go into this again, but if you felt the need to do that, sure, whatever. So 99% of this Reddit post is just him going like detective level, day by day, every single conversation that happened. He provided the screenshots again, and painted the picture that we already knew, that this chick was a psycho and she was, you know, making the whole thing up because she was clingy and attention seeking, and everyone knows this. To me, this is completely unnecessary to include in this post, because this is not what people were upset about. Nobody believed the Michaela thing. That is not what people were concerned about. They were concerned about the allegation from Spooky, and that is the entire reason that he said he was stepping away to begin with. But I digress. Here is what he said about the Spooky situation in this post. Now I'm going to change the subject to the second woman who talked about her sexual experiences on the internet. In no way was my initial statement on June 2nd to Spooky Pookie 8 an admission of guilt or coercion. I was merely acknowledging her and the part I might have played in her feelings about our night together. In case my statement was not clear at the time, I also understood that the addiction with which I was struggling had taken over my life, and I needed to go into treatment and therapy to look at the impact it was having on every aspect of my life. Each of our sexual encounters were both verbally and physically mutually consensual. We had sex more than once that night. There was never an element of physical threat or coercion, and there was constant communication back and forth between the two of us. After we slept in my bed for a couple hours, I took her back to her car. The night ended with her kissing me and telling me she had a good time and would like to see me again. He continues to say, I'll just read the rest of this just for full context. The band and team have been aware of these facts all along, which is why they supported my return, provided that I handle my issues with addiction and address a general inability to handle traumatic loss and hard times healthily. In recent years, I have turned to benders, which I have made poor decisions. I recognize that I have not always been perfect and have my own faults and demons. At times, I've probably been an asshole. While those faults don't disappear overnight, I'm trying to work on myself in all aspects of life, but I have never been a sexual abuser. My initial instinct has been to keep some of these aspects of my life private, partially to protect the privacy of the women involved and not add more fuel to the fire of a false narrative about me committing sexual misconduct or worse. But now that I'm putting myself out there again, I'm compelled to clear my name so I can go back to what I love most in this world, making and performing music for the fans of Dance Gavin Dance. I'm writing this from the heart and against the advice of some of our team, but I felt it was essential to get the facts out there so you wouldn't have to continue living in mystery about why I was welcomed back to the band. Thank you for taking the time to read this. Tilian. So the issue that people drew with this apology, and I'm not saying that I have an issue with this apology. I think it was a good apology. I appreciate that he went and sort of took the time to clarify all of this stuff. Albeit, once again, I think the way he chose to kind of word things just didn't really help his case. So a lot of the comments are kind of pointing out like, well, no one was concerned about the Michaela thing. We already knew that that was fake. So why go that in depth and spend that much time talking about the one that we knew was fake and then kind of quickly glossing through the one that people are actually concerned about? And that's a legitimate question, that's a legitimate concern. And it really does come down to, it's one of two things, right? And I don't know what this is. I'm not going to pretend that I know the situation. I'm not going to pretend I was there and know what happened. We can only, express our views and opinions on this. None of us know for sure who is telling the truth and who is lying. But two schools of thought here, I think, for how to interpret this. There is A, he's trying to misdirect everyone to focus on the fake account, to not question the other one that he might have done. Or it simply could just be a lack of available evidence since it was a one-night ordeal. I mean, the other one spanned this huge amount of time and he had all this evidence to back it up. And he provided it multiple times because, like I said, he debunked it immediately. Like he's debunked it twice at this point, right? But the other one, it was just like a one-night thing. Like he doesn't have that much evidence to physically show for that. But I think because of the fact that he included a lot of details about that first one, it just made it look worse to compare that to the actual allegation and how he glossed through that. Like, if I were him, I would have not included anything about Michaela at all in that post. I certainly would not have taken up 99% of the post talking about a claim that I had already debunked. I feel like that was just poor judgment on his part. And granted, maybe he did do that to misdirect everyone to not focus on the thing. I don't know. Yes, there is a chance that he is lying and trying to deter people from thinking about it too much. There's also a chance that the other girl is lying. At this point, there's no way to know. I was very much in the camp off the bat, siding with Spooky because of the fact that it seemed like he was, admitting to it and acknowledging that the situation happened, and that's why he was, stepping away from the band. Now he's coming back and saying that that's not actually why he left, and it was actually for alcoholism, and, it's just this whole messy situation. I think that, in my eyes, the entire scenario has just sort of been Tilian shooting himself in the foot with the way he's responding to everything. I feel like if he had just chosen his words more carefully from the beginning, then we wouldn't be in such a mess right now. The fans, fans like me wouldn't be left in this like huge gray area of not knowing, who to believe and what to do, because I feel like if he had just worded things differently from the get-go, then there wouldn't be all this room to misinterpret things, which is what he keeps kind of pinning the blame on. So, I don't know who is right and who is wrong. There is no way for me as a nobody fan to actually know what happened. Only he and the band and Spooky know what happened. So for the sake of this argument, let's say that Tilian has been telling the truth this whole time. He never did anything, right? Let's take it from that perspective. If that was true, which it might be, again, not saying that it's not, from the get-go, if I were him, I would have just avidly denied it, like I avidly denied the account from Michaela in the same vein. And then also, if he was leaving the band to deal with his alcoholism, which is a legitimate thing, to want to leave and deal with, I respect that decision. I think that's a great thing that he, took the time and effort to do. He should have clearly stated that. He could have essentially just reworded what he said and included the stuff about alcoholism, and that's why he's leaving, and also threw in the fact that he 100% did not do that, and that probably would have made it a little bit better. But even if he hadn't done that, even if he had left the exact statement that he already left when he stepped away from the band, when he came back, if he would have just left out that paragraph completely denying everything that went counter to his original post, then it wouldn't have caused all this discourse, which means he wouldn't have had to make this like follow-up thing. And again, if he had done everything the way he did it up to this point, and then did the final Reddit post with the clarification, if I were him, I just wouldn't have put in the shit about Michaela, because it was not what people were upset about, and it is making it come across that he's trying to like get attention onto a different thing and get attention away from the thing that's actually concerning. Like I've said 100 times by this point, I don't know what happened. I'm not picking a side. I'm not going to say that Tilian 100%, date raped this chick. I'm not going to say that this chick 100% lied about the entire thing. I'm not going to say that because for the spooky situation, there is not enough evidence on either side at this point to be able to make like a 100% definitive choice on who to side with, at least from my perspective. It seemed very cut and dry before his return that he fucked up and, he was taking accountability and everything, and just everything he's kind of said since then just didn't really line up with that. And I don't know, man. I'm just fucking tired of this. Like, it's exhausting. I really do think that, Tilian just chose really poor wording in this situation. And I hope that's not because he is actually trying to cover something up. I really, really, really genuinely want to believe that he didn't do this. I really do. But there's not enough evidence on either side for me to be able to make a fully informed decision. And I don't think there ever will be. I think it's just one of those things that, like, it's in the past now. We as fans just have to kind of move past it. At the end of the day, there's no more that can be said or done about everything that's gone down. Like, you either believe him or you believe Spooky. Michaela was never a legit accusation. It was obvious from the start. We just need to stop talking about that whole thing in general, Tilian included. Good God, we need to move on from that because that was never the issue. I want to believe Tilian. I really do. I really want to believe Tilian. Who knows if I ever truly will, but also I could kind of care less at this point. I'm very good about separating the art from the artist. I've never really wanted to look into the personal lives of any member of Dance Gavin Dance. I've respected their craft and their music, and that's all I've ever really cared about. That's what we do on this channel. We talk about good music, and we like we like talking about good music, and Dance Gavin Dance is like the peak of that. And it sucks that all this discourse has happened and everything, but I hope that this is the end of it. I hope that we don't have any other incidences like this, and I hope that nothing like this ever comes up again. But I mean, in my eyes, everyone deserves a second chance, especially in a case like this where there's no real way to know what happened. Like, it's ultimately not fair to try to, like, cancel this man's career over rumors at this point. Like, yeah, it really came across like he was admitting to it in his initial departure apology statement. He's now saying that it was misinterpreted, it was about something completely different. Whether you believe that or not is your choice. For now, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I really do. I want to chalk all of this up to him just being bad at writing statements. I really do. And quite frankly, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm here for the music. Like, I'm a DGD fan because their music changed my life, not because the individual people in the band changed my life. I've never met them. I never plan on meeting any of them. I'm here for the music. If the band supports his return, then I support their decision. And I firmly believe that it's the right one. Because they know him better than we know him. We are a bunch of nobodies on the internet speculating about stuff. They actually have an idea of what happened. They actually know Tilian personally. And if they're siding with him and saying that he didn't do anything, and that, he actually left to deal with his alcoholism and that this whole thing was a big misinterpretation, I'm inclined to want to believe them. So I'm sticking around. I'm still a fan. That was never in question. I said that way before his return and all of this extra bullshit that we've just talked about today, that regardless of where the band goes, whether they bring Tilian back, which they have, or whether they were going to go in a different direction. I'm here for the music, man. I'm here for the band as a unit, and I really hope that everyone is able to kind of move on from this, and I hope that everyone involved in this whole thing is able to learn from this. You know, whether it's learning to not do shitty things, or whether learning to word your statements better if you didn't do things to better defend yourself. Whatever the case may be, I hope that lessons were learned throughout this entire discourse and that nothing like this ever happens again. I don't know what to believe anymore. I'm done trying to pick a side at this point. I just hope that this shit doesn't happen again. I hope to God that the spooky accusation was actually fake. I hope it was a whole big misunderstanding. I don't actually know if that's the case. We will never know if that's actually the case. I'm sure everyone in the comments is going to very firmly say that they know what happened, even though they don't. Because that's the internet, and that's what happened last time I talked about this. Yeah, I don't know. I hope this video was, like, helpful to somebody. I hope I was able to kind of lay things out in a clear and concise way. Jesus, do I hate making videos like this. Hopefully I will never have to make another one like this ever again. Because, good lord, this comment section is gonna be a fucking nightmare again, I can already tell. But yeah, I mean, the boys are still gonna be here making Dance Gavin Dance content until the day that we put this channel in the ground, so, keep on doing your thing, DGD. Regardless of everything, we're excited to see where you go in the future.